gets back home tonight, and the clock just starts right over, and the walls come closing in, and the bathroom dips and then twirls, and your eyes get sunken in so deeply you can't recognize the face you see so easily. No one gets back home tonight.
All right. Well, welcome in everybody as we are doing another live stream here. We are here. I'm Samera, and with me is Jess this week. Unfortunately, Riv is not joining us today, but we have the amazing Erica Vogel here with us to join us for this lovely interview. So welcome in.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Amazing.
Welcome.
Jess, I have a question for you.
Yes, ask your question. Let's just get it rolling. What's up?
You may not know this, but I've known Jess for several years at this point. Do you still have the same Star Wars action figures on your wall behind you? Is that Jabba the Hutt? And
I do.
Was it Lando Calrissian and
It is Chewbacca.
Chewbacca?
Yeah, and it's Boba Fett.
Boba Fett. Okay, I thought I recognized
Yes.
Boba Fett up there. Yeah,
Yes.
I'm a big
And
Star Wars fan.
these are authentic.
Those are straight from childhood.
Yes. There's no like newfangled. We're acting like we're making old toys.
Yeah.
thing. These are actually the old toys. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, usually it's our job as, the host to ask you the questions, but you're jumping into questions right off the
Erica's a
bat. I love this.
professional.
Yeah.
Erica's a professional. Okay, I'm gonna put my phone away now. I just was posting that we were streaming.
Yeah, I just did all of my posts, so I'm good as well.
All right.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
yeah, let's just start with the easy one. Erica, who are you? How are you?
Well, how am I is a very loaded question in these times, as I think we can all agree. Who am I? Erica Vogel, trans woman, pronouns she, hers. I am wildly 53 years old. I know you guys are like, no, wait, you look 25.
No way.
Thank
No
you
way.
for saying that.
No.
I appreciate it so much. I think this is year number 4 of transition, I think. I grew up in the South, so actually I'm an Atlanta girly, but I moved into really close to where Jess lives in the late 90s and stayed in that area for 20 years. And now I am in DC. I live in the suburbs of DC. So
Wow.
I'm 18 miles from the shit show, right? But I am in the daily flight path of whoever's flying from the White House to the CIA office. So I do see
Oh my
Marine One every day.
gosh. I mean, not to dive into that, but how are things going right now?
Well, no, it's a great question. So, obviously over the last week, we've seen the attempt to militarize the DC area. Look, if you haven't been to DC, it kind of has a reputation because, all mega cities, they're urban. There's all kinds of things going on, but crime's at I think a 32-year low.
Oh, wow.
And it's a really safe city. I've rarely worried about walking around anywhere in DC after dark. I don't worry about getting anything happen to my car. Actually, the biggest threat most often are the visitors who don't know what they're doing and where they're going and the problems they cause. Right.
Yes.
And these days, some of those visitors like to wear red a lot. So what's happening is purely just a bullshit shit show. I think it's honestly, while it certainly is escalating fascism, it is a distraction, right? Well, there's quite a bit of bad information out there that keeps wanting to come out, and they've been looking for lots of distractions. So it is, I would say, relatively weird. Now, I don't live in the district. I'm 18 miles from the district, so I'm out in the suburbs, right? Because I'm a suburb kind of girly, not an urban city kind of girly. And it's been fine. I haven't heard from any of my friends in the district that there's any problem. Mostly it's various versions of pseudo law enforcement walking around unarmed, just being annoying or on the street corner or whatever. Now, we have heard that more National Guardsmen will be coming in. They'll be coming in with weapons. That will change the tone of things. But there has been a massive protest in DC. There's always a protest in DC, by the way. Any given day of the week, someone's protesting. But there was a really big one over the weekend that I think is still going. So what I would tell people is we're okay. They've really been a nuisance more than anything. That's not to say don't show up, don't raise your voice, don't stand out there with your signs and be loud about it, and that things can't get worse. They can. It has been a show for the nation. So just digging in. I can keep going into more of who I am, though, because we just jumped straight off of that into like what's life like in DC.
Well, I'm kind of glad that you did that, though, because that was kind of like the elephant in the room for me, just knowing that you're there, and I wanted to. I was trying to look it up a little bit because I feel like there has been, even though I hear you that it's like relatively quiet, I feel like there also has been like like I heard people talking about how there are protests, but then it's like hard to find them. It's like there's a bit of it definitely seems like there's a media block. And I mean, I'm not on mainstream media, so I wouldn't, but even, it does seem like there's a bit of a coordinated effort to just say, oh, there's this big show of force and that's it, that's it. We're like,
So I guess what I would add to that, Jess, is that I too am frustrated by where's the protest. I would think living in this area with so many government officials and activists and things like that, that'd be quite easy to know when and where the protest is. But regularly, I'm like, wait, there was a fucking protest today.
Yeah.
So if you are felt that frustration living across the nation, recognize that even us in DC are like, wait, where are we supposed to be?
Yeah.
The media they've been covering it to a certain degree. I think I was watching the news, national news this morning, and I saw some thing about it. But, I think we always have to remember that, national news media has been through quite the ringer, quite famously with CBS and being forced to pay a bribe to Trump to exist. All of the main news channels are really trying to thread a needle of like, what can I say? To some, we're being like, I'm not going to say anything. So I'm constantly frustrated with the national news, but there is some value to at least know what they're talking about. When I watch the local news, it's quite a different story. Very unfriendly to Trump in this area on the local Washington DC news. And
it's interesting.
We're getting the story.
It's interesting hearing that because, like me, I'm Canadian, so I mean, it's interesting hearing about. Yay!
Wait, you know what?
I mention it every single week.
Right? Does everybody know? Everybody knows elbows up, right?
Elbows up.
That's right.
No. So it's interesting hearing that because it's like I hear news from outside of the States. So I mean, it's very interesting hearing about what you guys get on the inside and about what you hear nationally that way. Because, it's kind of like, the other way around when we get our own news, and then we get the people coming into looking at what's going on in Canada, and they get the outside, and it's just like it's kind of interesting seeing that because it's like for me, I always like to ask Americans how things are going because I only get to see whatever my news wants to show.
Right. I imagine it's sort of like when something's going on in the UK or Europe. I'm like, well, I'm getting an international news perspective, but not I don't really know what's happening in Europe or UK at that level because I'm an American and we're not really taught to think about the, global conundrum. I do a lot. I do have people I know that live in other countries, so I can get some detail, but there is like that lack of context that makes it really hard. I would assume that being our great neighbor to the north, you have a little bit more than maybe our neighbors in the UK. But still, it's different than being here, and it's different and I would definitely say your local news is going to be different than your national news, right?
Oh, 100%.
Because they're going to be sanctioned for less. Now, granted, all of your local newses are owned by, I think, 5 major conglomerates, so who knows how long that's going to last?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So we might come back to this.
Oh yeah,
but we'll continue the question of who are you?
Okay, who I am by day. I am a technology product manager, so just keeping that trans femme and technology stereotype alive. On that note, my father is an audio engineer, so I grew up in sound studios. So yes, I can play the bass guitar really well, and I can record just about anything you imagine. So that's stereotype number 2. I also am a creative. I come from a digital design background, so I'm like artsy. The only thing I don't have as a trans woman is a blahage. I don't have the shark. And I might lose. That might finally lose me my card. I don't know.
Yeah.
But here's what I do have. And Jess will like this.
Yes. Let me see.
It is. Jess, do you know what that is?
Yes. Yes. I'm trying to remember the.
A
Is there
bantha?
It's a bantha.
Yes.
Yes. No.
Yes. That's awesome.
Bantha Efi.
That's even official Mandalorian bantha.
Yeah. That's got the
wonderful.
Mandalorian bread. So, I hope you'll excuse my lack of Swiss shark and allow me to have giant fuzzy elephant.
You know what? I think it's just become like just the mound of plushies that you can have because like even though I've got this shark, I've got another shark that I think it's sitting at my parents right now. Okay. I ordered a pink one because I wanted blue and pink,
Of course.
Of course. You can't have enough. I've got my fox there because, it's just who I am. And then over here I've got like I don't know, 20, 30 plushies sitting on my shelf that they're mostly Pokemon.
That's my only plushie. We did just come back from Yellowstone 3 weeks ago. Yellowstone is gorgeous, by the way. And my partner picked up a river otter that is named Wyatt that hangs out with Nala, the bantha. And by the way, fun Star Wars fact for all of you out there, Obi-Wan Kenobi had 2 banthas, and one of them was named Nala.
Did not know that.
Yeah.
Wait,
that's why
what?
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. I really appreciate that, Erica.
You know
Drop
what?
in the Star Wars knowledge.
Feel free to go off on it. I love it. I love it.
I love the Star Wars knowledge. That is
you find it in like comic books and stuff. Anyway, so
so
there's
that. That wasn't from a show. That was from a book.
That's from a book, right?
Yeah.
So I work in tech. I'm a technology product manager every day, which means that basically I write business requirements for Scrum teams to build stuff, and I work in financial technology. So I basically tell people what to do in meetings all day, and then ask them why they didn't do the thing after the meeting. That's my job. I'm a tech. That's what I have a whole master's degree in, telling people what to do. I'm married. I have a 13-year-old at home who starts 8th grade tomorrow. He's very much not looking forward to going back to school.
Tomorrow?
Monday.
It's staggered. In the U.S., it's staggered. The start is really... It depends on where you live exactly. Like, some districts have already gone back.
Yeah.
Some districts are about to go back. My district here won't start until the end of the month. So it's kind of,
And then
in
private
Canada,
/ charter school changes that date even more within each region.
In Canada, it's just a straight after Labor Day weekend.
No.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
He starts school tomorrow. He starts 8th grade tomorrow.
That's exciting.
Yeah. I mean, it is. It is for us. But he is in he goes to Fairfax County Schools, one of the better schools systems in the nation. So we're really happy about that. He will be taking Japanese as his foreign language this year.
Whoa, that's awesome.
Yes, he's very excited about that. And I am proud to say, I think this was announced yesterday, the day before, but Fairfax County was one of the 4 counties in Virginia that said, no way, we're not walking backwards on trans people's access to bathrooms in schools.
Awesome. Yeah,
Let's
I was curious. I know I had seen Loudoun, but I wasn't sure about Fairfax, so that's cool.
We're next door.
Okay.
So, and I actually work on the Loudoun Equality. I'm on the board of Loudoun Equality, so I helped with that effort as well. I didn't do anything for Fairfax, but just live here and say, please don't do this to me. So they came out strongly against that. Once again, what else? I don't know. I love the outdoors. Like I said, we went to Yellowstone recently, and we both just fell in love with the idea of like seeing like the American safari, right? So we didn't see moose, but you can see moose there. We didn't see river otters, but we didn't see them, but we did see like black bears, elk, bison, fox, but we have foxes in our yards. Mountain goats, bighorn sheep. Like we just love being out in the wild. We saw a black wolf. Pretty awesome. Yeah, very cool. So we're very much into that type of stuff. Also birds. We watch birds way too much because we're both 50, and when you turn 50, you inherit a new hobby. It's usually watching birds, walking around with a weight vest on, things like that. But otherwise, that's kind of me. I'm a published author, if I can use words.
Yes.
There's my book.
Ooh,
I have it
there's
too.
the book.
I brought my copy.
Oh, look at you. You brought your copy. Great.
Yeah.
And it's got a bookmark in there for the next thing I need to record about it that I've been very lazy about. So that's the bookmark. And then I write a bunch of like leave trans people alone on social media and
I
political
love
commentary.
that.
So that's me.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, awesome that you have a book. The book looks amazing. I was looking at it the other day, and
it's a really good, like, okay, like if you've been out for a while, there's probably a few things in here for you. But if you're just getting started, there's a lot in here. This is a great book for your family, your friends, your coworkers. It's really great for allies because it's 48 questions that I get asked way too often. And, you know, kind of like, and what it is, it's like 48 little essays, right? And so I usually try to give a personal anecdote if I can. But it's actually really informative for the people around us to kind of get a sense for what trans people go through. So it's actually quite a good ally book, even if you're like, look, I've been trans for 20 years. Okay, great. You know, buy it for your mom.
Yeah, good move. And I found there were some things that I definitely got some very solid value out of it, even though a lot of the questions that you addressed in the book were already things that I had worked through, you know, like you said, but there were definitely certain things there in certain ways, like some of the questions that you were answering kind of helped me just think a little bit about, you know, myself and my story. And that was like really cool. Yeah. Or just like being deliberate in like how I'm showing up, especially like specifically when you talk about like that every trans person has an origin story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you said it that way exactly.
I did. And I borrowed that from someone. Unfortunately, I did cite them.
Okay. There you go. I hadn't looked it up. I just pulled that out. But yeah, and that was something that I think a lot of us actually have like kind of a weaving of origin stories, you know? But yeah, a lot of it was, I thought it was really cool. And especially some of the pieces on basically on when you start to talk about, and I'm not going to give away the book, but, I mean,
no
it's not
spoilers.
a mystery, right? It's not a mystery. I'm not
It's
I'm
also
not giving away
not a hard read. It's like something you can read in a weekend.
Yeah. I'm not like, unmasking the whodunit, but it's you. It's a book about you. You done it.
Yes.
But when you talk a little bit later in the book about advocacy, and kind of, you know, that everyone has agency in how they're going to show up as an advocate, and how important it is to make sure to have the boundaries for yourself that you need, so that you're also just being aware of the emotional labor that you are potentially putting yourself through in your own advocacy, and even just in like that not everybody has to be, you know, you don't have to be out there all the time being an advocate. Like, it's enough just to be who you are and exist in your life, and you don't have to, you know, you don't have to be out there fighting for everyone. And it's also that like that's a lot, you know.
It is a lot. I take breaks frequently. You know, so like I said, I've already mentioned I served on a nonprofit board. Currently, I served on a trans nonprofit board before then, an international one. I've been involved in my local elections, involved in my LGBTQ plus ERG at work, where, you know, we have like 35,000 people. So there's like a good amount of people there. And I've been working in that world. I talk a lot about, like, you know, because people ask me, what do we do about this moment? Right. Then I have a new article coming out on kind of like the lack of Democrat strategy is one of our big problems. But, you know, I talk a lot about like mutual aid and supporting your local shelter and your local food bank, because when the shit does hit the fan, when fascism really does come to root in our lives, we need those measures in place to aid people, right? But if you have some money to send it to ACLU, there are legal defense fund. If you can show up to a protest or to a march, do that. If you want to take some sort of obstructive action, please, for your own good, get a legal consult done to understand what you are in for, what laws you could be charged with in your area, and whether that's a ticket, whether that's a night in jail, or something else. Like, we romanticize obstructive actions that get us arrested, and frequently for those who are not in the right position to weather that, they ruin lives. So in all of the different types of advocacy you have to have a way to recharge. You have to take break. There are times when I walk away from social media for several days, where I am currently 3 weeks behind on my Substack space, because I'm just like, I can't write about it right now. And I walk outside and I touch grass, all the things except for me. Like, I have really nice plants in my yard, so I'll go like say hello to the plants. That we can't live advocacy 24/7. It's really impossible. You can't bring yourself to it consistently and constantly if you don't take a break and recharge yourself, find something that's good in life. Because the thing about advocacy, it is hinged upon hope at the end of the day, right? When we think about it, we're trying to make a change that's better for a marginalized community or multiple marginalized community in the future. And without hope, if you can't bring hope to that, you can't sell people on why that's important, right? We don't have to be miserable in advocacy, though advocacy work is often miserable.
Yeah.
Right. So that's why I talk about that a lot, Jess, because you can really pour a lot of yourself in there, but we also have to pay our bills and put food on the table. And even, the people that do a lot of this, to do this for most of the part of their lives, they still have to provide for themselves. And that requires stepping away. Right. So, and for you to have that kind of agency you're talking about, Jess, you have to have some time to think about what's important to you, to speak up in the places that are right for you, to have impact on your life. We all have agency. For some of us, there's more agency than others. I, as a white trans lady, am going to have more agency than a Black trans lady. I, as a person who's in technology, am not living paycheck to paycheck. So I have more financial agency, right? So I always have to remember, like, what do I have to give and how do I compare to other people, and not ask them to live up to where I am. I have a lot going for me. And that's not the same. I have to be conscious when I walk into advocacy spaces where we are centering Black trans women, for example, because I have way more privilege, right? And I have to approach that cautiously. So I think having that ability to step back, Jess, is what's important, because you need to reflect and understand the context of what you're getting into. Sorry, long-winded, rambly answer. That's what I do.
No, we love that. And even Chad is, just on top of what you were just saying, like, and maintain relationships with your people, because, for me, like, that's the big part for me for advocacy, is keeping up those relationships and being able to find those people who you can rely on to give you back a little bit of the energy, so that you're not like pouring so much of yourself into it that you just don't have almost like an anchor,
Yes, I agree. My partner is my person. They're my favorite person in the world. And if I had 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to spend with one person, I would just spend them with her. Right. That said, I have a lot of friends, right? I have friends in my neighborhood that I spend time with that know the advocacy work that I do, and know that when they come over to hang out, that's not the time to ask me about it. I have coworkers. I have people that I check in on, like, Jess, I've been bad about checking in on you, right? And just being like, hey, how are you doing? That's why you asked about, how are things going in Asheville after all that went down. And I firmly believe in that we have to look out for each other. So when I need a break, I go to my people where I can just be. And I know that the people in my circle also need that as well. Actually, my wife and I were just talking the other day. She's was laid off by her previous employer recently. Well, not recently. It's been like 9 months now. So she's really kind of going through this, like, finding a job in this terrible period. By the way, if you're not on the job market, or you haven't had reason to be on the job market, you probably don't realize millions of people are out of work right now.
Yeah.
Right. And the jobs report that came out that got amended was finally on the money, and now they've changed it again. Right.
Yeah.
So please know there are a lot of people without work. And one of the things that we were talking about, one of the things that she's really indexed on is that she reaches out to other people in her position. She makes time to have coffee with them. She makes time to have lunch with them. She makes time to have Zoom calls with them. That connection that she has is helping her and the people in her situation weather that. And I think that applies to advocacy. That certainly applies to being trans. Like, with us scattered across the nation, even though there are pockets where we're quite concentrated, most of us don't have another trans person near us in our life. I mean, I have 3 that are near me, because that's just, there's 4 times more trans people in the DC suburbs area than any other single place in the US. in terms of percentage. So there's like literally, one on either side of me by like a mile, right? So it's a little bit easier for me, but that doesn't mean there are people that I have the strong connections to, right? Yeah. So that's why I'm like, man, I haven't reached out to Jess recently, or I haven't checked in on Vanessa recently, or I, haven't talked to River recently, or whatever. Because that's important to me. I think it's important for us to continue to make connections. And if possible, in your area, go see people in person if you can. I know not everybody can do that. Not everybody is able to easily get outside the house. Maybe everybody doesn't have a trans person near them. Find a queer space that's safe for you. If you have cis friends that you trust, spend time with them. I think in this time where it's always bad, that spending time with people is how we recharge ourselves.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Community is the antidote to despair, right?
Totally. Get into community.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't, it's funny. I had recognized too that we hadn't connected in a little bit. And that's why it was funny, because I was like, okay, should Erica and I should we chat? Because we haven't connected in a while. And I was like, well, we'll just chat on the podcast.
Yeah.
So here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
It is super important and challenging. To kind of to keep up with everything, to keep up with everybody. But I think it is really, really important, even if you can just figure out whatever is attainable for you. And, if it's like, okay, I'm just going to try to have I'm going to reach out to one person per week, or whatever, that is actually I've got one trans friend that I just text with every once in a while.
Yeah.
And and even that, it's really helpful, it's really great. And he's across the country, but it still really helps a lot, and it's still really nice, And yeah, total bonus if
that's not Nash, is it?
Yeah, it is Nash.
Nash is the best.
Nash is
I love
awesome.
Nash.
Yeah. He's so wonderful. And that's really nice. And I'll say one thing that got me about Nash was when we actually exchanged numbers and kind of went from, I don't know if it would be going from parasocial to actually social or what.
Yeah.
But once it was okay, we really have each other's contact now. And this was around the election, he kind of sent me this text of hey, if you're ever in a bad spot, you call me. You know, and I'm like, dude, aim, brother, and that's really, really important too, even though, I do have other people in my life that I could call, and I'm, but that's so important to have, even if I don't feel like I'm in that spot very often, but it's so important to have that, and people to actually say hey, we can have small talk, and we can enjoy each other's company, and we can talk about advocacy, and we can talk about politics. We can do all this stuff. But I also want you to know that I legitimately care about you as a person. And if you need something, then call me. And that's one of the things that we've always connected very authentically, Erica. And that's why I'm that shit's really important, especially when in these wild, chaotic
times. Whatever we want to call them. Yeah.
Yes.
Connect with your friends, people. Check. If you're wondering, when I'm I wonder if I should check in on Jess, I stop wondering.
Yeah.
And I check in on Jess, right? I don't agonize over, will they find it intrusive? No, they'll be happy to hear from you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Check on your friends.
Yeah. Yes. I just loved hearing about the two of you just chatting about that, though. Very heartwarming to hear the connection that the two of you have and how special that is. That's just so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
Obviously, Jess is the best and super amazing, right? But we also have
until he brings up his contract.
You have to be
whatever.
Careful. I have a really big ego on this podcast.
Oh no! Oh gosh. Well, Jess also knows my brother and sister-in-law, and so he has a certain amount of perspective on me. So I always have to kind of treat Jess the right way. You could probably spill some stuff.
Oh man. Yeah. The inside. Yep. Yeah, no, I got on this podcast, Erica, and I just have finally, taken the trans man sauce and really jumped into the manosphere.
Ooh, okay.
these trans women invited me to be on this podcast.
Okay.
And I told them.
Hold on. I have a question for you, Jess, because I like to ask questions. Please tell me that you're bringing a very healthy style of masculinity to the manosphere, because it really, really needs that.
No. Well, I was trying to bring the manosphere.
And now the mask tax.
I was just trying to explain that, and it takes a little bit of explaining. Okay. I heard this one recently, okay? I can explain it. I can explain it to you. I can't understand it for you, but I can explain it to you.
Okay.
Okay,
is this the mansplaining corner?
This is yes, we are now in mansplain corner.
Cool, go for it.
So yeah, anyway, I came on this podcast and I'm like, yeah, you want to diversify, have some trans dude energy. That's cool. You just have to understand, as science has shown us, that I will be superior at everything.
Of course.
Because,
of course,
and that's just like, it's just natural. It's not and so as long as we have that understanding. So yes, as I have stepped into my manosphere, my head has gotten so big. Yeah.
I can see it from her.
It's yeah.
Although anyway. Jess, I'm gonna have to challenge you on one point. As a trans woman, I will always have an advantage over everybody, just so you know.
There are layers to this. Yeah, there are layers to this. So
according to the outsiders.
Yeah. So that's the gotcha, but yeah. It's yeah.
What else you got for me? What
honestly, like having Jess coming on and being, like we joke about it, but having his outlook from a, trans mass side has been absolutely amazing. And he has been a great addition. I mean, just adding that little bit there, but yeah.
I love when Jess told me that he was on the show. I was like, oh, that's really cool. Sorry, I've lost track of the show. That's me. I'm bad.
You know what? We are so good at rabbit trails. I am like the best bunny trail person here, so you are great. You are fine. Okay. I have this is ADHD moment. I love it.
Okay.
Great. Thank you.
So what I was really excited about is that I spend a lot of time with trans masks. I spend a lot of time with non-binary people. I really try to get across the community. And there is a divide in the trans space between the mask and the femmes. And you don't rarely see us occupying space together often. And when we do, we're kind of in our little social circles. Having Jess be on the show really starts to heal some of that divide. Some of the conversations I've had with Nash, so one of my friends, Alex, some other people, they can kind of feel alienated from the trans community, obviously because trans mask erasure is one of the other side's favorite thing to do. But, and also I think we're insular in that way, just in the same way. And that's one of the things I always talk about. When I see spaces that are predominantly white, I start to worry we're not indexing on Black, brown, and indigenous transness, right? And those are wildly important. And I think we have to keep sort of re-sewing our community together because, we all have something in common, right? But more importantly, by working together, working collectively, we can help bring us all together at the same time. Right. So I love when I see this sort of, mask and femme representation together in the same place, because I think it teaches people that we're more than just the people that look like me.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah. That is very valid. And I've very much appreciated all the welcome, not just on the podcast, but in the server as well. It's been very nice because unfortunately it can be in different ways. Our community gets very cliquey and very I think there is something that is a common. I'm not saying at all that these issues don't happen in real life when we are occupying physical spaces together out in public. It's not that they don't exist, because they do exist out there. But I think that there's so much discourse that happens on social media when people are in isolation, especially about any kind of divisiveness, that it makes what already does really exist into like gargantuan. Like it just makes it so big when yes, these are problems that we deal with in our communities in physical space with each other, you know, and in public with each other, but they're not. I feel like we blow it up so much online, and then it feels even bigger, and it feels like that distance between us is so much further.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is really awesome. You know, just diversity is strength, right? So
yeah. I'd like to dive to that for just a second.
Yeah, do it.
By all means.
Again, I know that we can all get out into our local community and find trans friends. And if you can, please keep doing that. And if you're not sure if you can, hopefully you'll find someone, right? I think it's very valuable. The trans community, as a result of how spread we are, you know, while also being a relatively low incidence of people in terms of total population, sort of forces us online, right? And we don't always know how people arrive to our online spaces, what avenue they came here, who they've been listening to before they realize, oh, there's some really bad takes in the community, right? And I think that the other sort of downside of social media, and I'm on a lot of social media, right, is that nuance is lost.
Yes.
You know, it's nuance. Social media can be like when you're arguing with your partner over text. You don't have any of the context clues. Like if you can do a video call, do a video call, right? If you can listen to someone talk on social media with video, then you're getting those context clues and you're hearing their voice, you're hearing out they're saying something. But when it's text, it's really easy for us to misinterpret and to apply the fundamental attribution error, which is my favorite one, where we assume that this person said this one thing to really get me and they probably weren't. Right. So I think because we have to use social media so much to connect, we have to start bringing nuance back into the conversation and ask ourselves, well, why did Jess say that way? Instead of me just outright attacking Jess because she didn't have my exact view, ask Jess to go into more. Why do you think that? What's going on? Help me understand. Like, I think we do have to get better at reaching sort of across the aisle on social media to get away from the discourse trademark, right? That I always put the TM after that because it's like the discourse. And that might help us a little bit better to seek discussion instead of to seek one side or the other of the argument.
Absolutely. And I mean, even building off of that, like it's so interesting always seeing and engaging with people through my main source of social media, if you can even call it that anymore, is Discord, because like you know, being a community person in mod in our Discord, it's always like, you know, I'm always engaging with different people and seeing the different ways that they engage, and it's always interesting, like reading different things and seeing, you know, almost seeing how people react to different things. And it's just always very interesting because you're right, there is all this missing contextualization because it's all just text. I know that some people have tried to come up with like context what do you call them, like context
like context
info
clues,
like with the slash or whatever. I don't know if you've ever seen them, but you know, some people use them and it's just very interesting, but it's very hard sometimes because there can be the feeling sometimes that people are just, you know, attacking you. And it's like, no, it's just, it's a message.
It's a message, right? Now, in this community, when you post something, obviously we know that you're going to get attacks from some people outside because that's just their whole personality. Right? That's what they come online to just be an asshole, right? To have a contrary opinion. And
yay, the trolls.
Yay, the trolls. And I think if you're experiencing a lot of that, work to curate your feeds, block those people. Just block and move on. Just block and move on, because there are people out there listening that aren't trolls.
Yep.
And I think we have an outsized expectation based on what happens on the internet to the reality of what it's like to live your life as a trans person. Right? Yes, there are certainly some dangerous places in this state. Meanwhile, there are also, like Florida, one of the most dangerous, has, I think, 90,000 trans people living there last time I can recall. So there's a lot of people living in places. I'm very out. Look, I am 5'11", 220 something pounds, because I'm a retired athlete and I'm built, you know, like a big old swimmer, and I've got a giant fucking head, you know, I get gendered correctly everywhere I go somehow, but I'm a big person. So every room I'm walking to, they're like, Jesus Christ, there's a giant lady with blonde curls over there. And I've traveled the nation, and the only place that I've had something negative said to me is online. It was literally in Montana and then Wyoming. I've been in Alabama. I've been in South Carolina. I've been in North Carolina. I'm not saying there aren't assholes out there. I am saying that I believe, in my experience, the majority of the population is maybe not on our side and friendly and super allies, but they're also just like, whatever, I don't have time to deal with that. And they move on. Yeah. The reality that I've experienced, and again, this is me, this is not everybody, is that people don't have the balls to say shit to your face most of the time. Though I have a trans daughter who is 29, and she certainly has some shit said to her. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but the more that we can feel comfortable getting out in our communities and going about our lives, the more we'll feel like, oh wait, this is doable. We can make progress. There are good people out there that are with us. And there's just a lot of people that don't really fucking care. And there's a lot of there's a small amount of very, 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 very loud, angry people who have nothing else going on in their life but to hate on us. That doesn't mean that the US is ready to vote trans rights in. Obviously, that's not happening. The reality is, in my perspective, things aren't as dangerous for us as we want to make out. Not saying personal experience hasn't happened for people, but get out of your shell if you can a little bit.
Yeah, and this quote just came in from chat. Exact 100%. That is
way more comfortable because there's no accountability. They don't have to say that to someone's face.
Yeah.
Right? They have none. But in public, that kind of public shame shit happens to them. They're like, oh, I literally
like, people can put in like,
then I make eye contact with the guy and then he stops and there's no more conversation about trans people had the entirety of his meal. I've seen it twice.
Right.
My favorite is I live in a small resort town in Canada, which I mean, you know, I live in Banff. You probably heard of it.
Oh.
Yes,
I would like to go to Banff. Come do some skiing?
I don't ski.
Okay.
I just love the mountains.
Okay.
But
mountains are amazing.
My favorite thing is looking at, we have this site called Overheard in Banff, and it is hilarious because you can tell who the locals are and you can tell who the not locals are. And you can tell like when these, you know, little things come up and it's just like some of the people in there who are talking shit. It's just like, you don't even live here. You have no idea. And it's just this whole keyboard warrior thing of just like, go away.
Yeah, they're really just being shitty to their phone or their laptop. Yeah. You're not a person to them because the people in their lives, they'll wait till you're not around to say something. And I know that makes people feel uncomfortable, but I'm like, I can dare you. Like, come on, you got something to say it. Because here's the thing, it's none of my business until it comes out of your mouth in my direction.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. True.
Expressionist and